Welcome to We Time Convo. Today, we're taking a closer look at finding fulfillment outside the usual paths like marriage, motherhood, and traditional family roles. Joining us is Hylan, a thought leader who's all about exploring new ways to define happiness and success on your own terms. Hylan will share insights and ideas that could inspire you to think about fulfillment in a whole new way. Hello. Welcome back. We have a repeat special guest here.
Hi, I'm Hylan, and I'm back.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. So today's topic is exploring fulfillment beyond traditional paths, such as marriage, motherhood, and conventional family structures. So we kind of talked about this season 1, episode 40 with Dawn Marie, which was women's social norms through the generations. This is a never ending topic, right? Well, we can always talk about this. So we'll bring Hylan's perspective on this. So Hylan, can you share a bit about your background and how you arrived at the realization that fulfillment could be found beyond conventional paths?
Yeah, so I think my path has been anything but conventional, right? So I grew up in poverty, experienced abuse. I lost both my parents unexpectedly in 2021. I dealt with codependency, immigrating from Vietnam to America. And I think during that time, in terms of learning about my experiences and just getting knowledge to persevere and I think thrive, I dove into a lot in terms of reading about mindfulness, philosophy, psychology, economics. And I also dove into a lot of research that provided a lot of great information and just perspective in terms of, what's currently happening in the world, in our society, our culture, etc., and then how it actually shapes and impact us as people living in this society.
What motivated you to explore fulfillment outside of traditional roles?
Because I was miserable.
Yeah.
So, I think to kind of dove into directly, I grew up with very little family support, right? And when you grow up with little family support and you have to survive as a normal functioning person, what you really want to search for is support. You need relationships. You really do feel that need at least for me, on an incredibly high level. I always knew that my friends had parents that support them, families that support them. I was always invited to their family and mine was like barely in existence, right? And so I always knew that relationship was a core component of having a healthy, prosperous life. And so I think for most of my life, I seek that. I seek relationships. And I think because I never had great models of relationships and support, I, went about it the wrong way. I think when in unhealthy ways in my early 20s when I started dating. And then that, led me down a lot of, I would say, challenging relationships. And I think, and I would say also to be more direct, emotionally and, a little bit of physical abusive relationships. I didn't deal with a lot of physical abusive relationships in my romantic life, but definitely emotional abuse was a core component of those relationships. And understanding also, why have I been so unlucky in love? And also just the question and understanding too, right? What is love? And, what is our understanding of love and how do we pursue love? So I really, like I said, I read a lot. So I've read to date 400 books.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Hylan.
My library is actually that big. Yeah. My digital library is really big.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of books.
Yeah. So what does fulfillment mean to you then? Like, what does it mean and how's your understanding of it evolved over time?
Yeah, I think fulfillment is actually less about the external side, less about having a certain relationship with others, having a certain romantic relationship. And it's more about how do you perceive yourself? How do you perceive your experiences and your character, right? So I think for a long time, I struggled with depression. And when I actually started meditating and reading about Buddhism philosophy and other philosophies too, right? Like Taoism and things like that. One of the biggest thread is that when you think about happiness in the conventional sense of, excitement and euphoria, it's actually very fleeting. And lasting happiness is actually a sense of satisfaction that you have within your life and within yourself is understanding that you don't think that you are flawed, that there is something wrong with you. And I think for most of my, adolescent and young adult life, I think I went through the world when I struggled a lot with depression was I thought that there was something wrong with me. Like, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me that I don't have these things that my friends did, right? And surprisingly, you also then attract people who perpetuate that or exploit that to their advantage, right?
Yeah.
When you believe that there is something wrong with you, that you are lesser than the next person, guess what? You're at a disadvantage mentally.
Yeah, for sure. So when did you come to the realization? Because you have mentioned that you've been in relationships. When did you come to the realization, like, that's not what I need to be happy, or I don't need to be married? Like, is that what your thought was growing up? Like, you have to be married to be happy. You have to have kids to be happy. Like, what made you realize in your life, like, I don't need that?
Yeah. So growing up, I didn't really have like romantic interest in men until obviously really late, compared to my friends. So I think I had one crush during high school and that was about it. And then in college, I never really went out my way to pursue like romantic relationships with men, to be honest. And I think I had a few relationships, but they were just like, oh, like that person wanted to pursue me and I just kind of went along with it. But it wasn't until I would say I think after college, when I think some of my friends had been in relationships that were like 2 or 3 years. And then, when you're in your 20s, right, and you graduate college and you buy into the idea that society has given you, right, is get a job, settle down, get married, have a happy family, and you have a perfect life. Well, that's not really the case for me, right? I really struggle with that. And I really struggled to have relationships I felt were fulfilling. And I would say, and I'm 37 today, right? And it wasn't until I would say when I was 34 that I really saw through what love actually is. Like, and, what are the true sources of love and support? And that's what kind of shaped me moving forward. And I think intensify my, satisfaction with myself and fulfillment within myself to then not really believe that I need to pursue anything outside of myself and just let things occur naturally.
Are you seeking like a relationship right now, or is that something that you're not even thinking about at the moment? Like, are you against marriage? Like,
I'm not against marriage.
Okay.
I think the problem is that I believe that majority of marriages are not healthy. Yeah. And that's my take, right?
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that in terms of statistics too, right? In terms of the divorce rate. Mm-hmm. And also there was a research in terms of, quantifying the happiness and satisfaction of married men versus married women and single men versus single women.
Oh, tell us.
I'm surprised you haven't heard.
No.
All over the internet. Yeah. So there are 4 profiles. They did this on heterosexual couples.
Yeah.
Or sorry, 6. So single men that's never been married, single women that's never been married, and divorced women that's never been married. Single women that's
never been married.
Single woman that's been divorced.
Okay.
Single men that's been divorced.
Okay.
So out of all those profiles, the happiest people are married men. The least happy people are married women.
Wow.
And the happiest woman is single, never been married.
That's very, I never heard of that. That's very
I will send you the research.
Yes,
because it is all over.
Yeah, we'll post it on our notes. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and the reason being is that, and part of this research, they found out is because single women have actually less responsibilities than married women. And married men have less responsibilities than single men.
Interesting.
because the transfer of responsibility of household chores and things like that and emotional labor actually transfer to the woman when she gets married.
What do you think about that, Irene? That's very interesting. Send us the link. Okay.
And I can probably attest that like a lot of women I talk to like share with me these same sentiments.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a shared sentiment, I think, among generations.
Right.
And it also has to do with our culture, right? And everything.
Yeah, for sure. So what future trends or changes do you see emerging and how women are defining and achieving fulfillment?
I personally believe that women will continue to discover their inherent value, right? So I think a lot of society and social structures and in the governing bodies too, right? You know, around religion, government, things like that, dictate that women's core role is to bear children, take care of children, provide emotional labor to the rest of the family. And if they don't do so, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah. Or their life isn't complete, right?
Their life is incomplete, or that they are inept of some kind. And so I think as women and, you know, laws and changes around the governing body, right, change and allow more rights for women. Like, for instance, right, I think before, I don't quote me on the exact year, but I think before in the 1970s or 1965 or something like that, weren't allowed to actually have signed their own mortgage without a man.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that in another episode, which was wild to me.
Yeah. And so you think about it, how does it shape the social structure and how women perceive themselves? They perceive themselves of incompetent, not competent unless they have a man, and right, that psychology gets carried from the mom to the daughter, to then the daughter to the daughter's children. Right. So it perpetuates itself. And I think as the rules and laws changes, everything from abortion, things like that, to also science, right, allowing women to have like safe and healthy, you know, birth control, women are less, you know, inclined to, I think, fit themselves into this mold of one size fit all of like being mothers, being, you know, caretakers, and, you know, embracing their ability to pursue like other paths.
Right. So interesting. Oh my God, this is a lot, right? So what role do community and social networks do you think play in helping individuals find and sustain fulfillment? I think social media has a lot to do with it, right?
I think social media is definitely really good for women's right, because I think, and also, you know, sharing like experiences and understanding and recognizing bad behavior in relationships. I think as more people go online and, you know, share their stories when it comes to like unhealthy dynamics, cheating, abuse, and things like that, and also, you know, their career pursuits, right? Then women realize, at least for me, I didn't realize, for instance, the unhealthy relationships that I had were actually not my fault. Right. So I'm going to bring something up from kind of left field here.
Yeah.
But, you know, like one phenomenon that I've been witnessing and also been a part of is, you know, and this has been on the news as well. It's like these groups.
Fuck, I need to watch the news, Hylan. I'm like, where is this coming from? I need to. Yeah.
These groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. It's called "Are We Dating the Same Guy?"
Oh, girl, I'm on those groups. Yeah, I'm on those groups.
And guess what? You know, I went through my 20s.
Yeah.
Being with a lot of these toxic men who play mind games. Yeah. And, you know, when you come from, like, again, a background of not having the ideal, like, support and relationships to help you navigate the world, you're actually very easily duped by these quote unquote players, right? And one of the things I came to realize is that years later, these men are being posted. The same men that I actually dated and had trouble with,
wow,
they're posted by many.
And they're still on there.
Many women.
Yeah.
Detailing the same experiences they had with these men.
Yeah. And they're still doing it.
I kid you not. Yeah. Just like this week, I saw this guy that I dated who cheated on me with multiple
Girl,
women.
you need to show me because I'm on those sites and I know.
Yeah. And then, and for the longest time, like I said, it's with women, it's always been socialized that if a relationship doesn't work out, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right. And so what did I do when during those time that I didn't have these social like groups on these social networks on Facebook, right? I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, why am I not like able to have a healthy relationship with these men? Like, what am I doing wrong? Did I say something wrong? Did I text them something wrong? Right? Women tend to dissect themselves because of this socialization that the problems are within themselves and not with men.
Yeah.
Right. And I think when it comes to emotional development, I think there has been this enabling factor in society to then excuse men of understanding how to deal with their emotions in a healthy way and also with communication. And so while women are burdened with handling all the emotional labor, I think men get a lot of times get the, escape out of jail free. And I don't want to say this anecdotal, like on an anecdotal sense, right? Because there are research too, is that men right now, the second leading cause of death in men, I believe, is suicide. And so it is, their mental health isn't serving them as well. Their mental and emotional like intelligence isn't serving men. I think there needs to be a change, right, in terms of allowing men to understand,
be more emotional.
Yeah, and I think I strongly believe that within all of us, there's a duality, right? We both have like masculine and feminine features and qualities, and we need to less admonish men for the quote unquote like more feminine features of themselves in terms of owning their emotional like well-being, their feelings, and understanding how to express that in a healthy way.
I agree, girl, because every guy that I've met on the dating site has been unemotional. So that's a whole new other thing. So Hylan, what advice would you give to women who are contemplating a non-traditional path?
I believe that knowledge is power. So
read 400 books, run 20 marathons.
You need to, I personally feel like knowledge is power, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because when you operate life without knowledge, without data, without, information, you're essentially guessing. And a lot of times, right, depending on your upbringing, guess what? That guessing can be geared towards you, like I did in my early 20s, right? Not knowing all these things, not able to access this information, right? Like the arrow pointed at me.
Yeah, and not having parents that pass that knowledge.
Yeah, and I think also my personal perspective is that to lean on your parents and the people around you really limits your knowledge, right?
Yeah.
They only know a certain amount, right? And if your desire and your ambition is to succeed and excel above what, your social circle is able to do, you need to be able to access knowledge with the, from those who actually have accomplished what you want to accomplish.
Right. Oh my gosh. This is like really eye-opening for me. Really makes, because I have 3 girls, so it really makes me think about, and I've said this on the podcast before. It's like, I want them to have their own path. Like I don't, because it was instilled in me since I was little that same thing. Like I get a good job. I'm going to be happy only if I have a husband and I have kids. And that's not the case. Like I've never been married. I do have kids, but I don't have to be like, I don't have to have that to be happy.
And
right?
a lot of things, right, in terms of also your emotional intelligence, like things are traditions and these teachings are passed on from the previous generation that might not know any better, right? And while there is research and people who are experts at understanding like emotional validation, identifying unhealthy patterns, and if you were taught unhealthy things, guess what? You only know those unhealthy things.
Right.
And the people who taught those things to you can only teach those things. So to understand and learn healthy things, you need to seek those things in people who know them well.
Right. And I think that's why social media nowadays is a gift, because a lot of the stuff out there is on Instagram. Like you always share reels with me.
Oh, yeah.
And and it's good to see these things, right, in our generation now, because it is different. Times are different. Like now we can go get a fucking house if we wanted to. Like we can, as a woman, I could sign a mortgage if I could afford it here ever. And it's different. So
I think that's why women are excelling at such a rapid pace right now, right? I think, again, more research, and I'll send you the links to this research, but did you know women are outpacing men in graduating college at a bachelor level?
I believe
also
it.
at the master's level.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think at the bachelor level, I think it's like 57% women.
Yeah.
And at the master's level, advanced degree, it's at 59%.
Yeah. That's amazing. Go girls. Yeah, for sure. So to end this, is there a particular message or piece of wisdom you'd like to share with women who are on their own journey of self-discovery and fulfillment?
I believe that women should listen to their hearts despite those who tell them otherwise, because I believe everybody's needs, desires, wishes is different, right? And you're never going to fit in somebody's like mold and expectations. And happiness and fulfillment requires you to follow what you want to experience out of life. And life is about just experience. There's no goalpost.
Yeah.
The goalpost is death, right? And at the end of like your life, you need to be able to look back and said, I did everything that I really wanted to do.
Right. And I think that's very hard for people with codependency, right? To really think about yourself. And I think that's something that I struggle a lot with myself too, is like
your desires.
Don't think about everyone else. Like think about you, like what you want for yourself. And I think I'm, at 43 still on that path to finding my own fulfillment. And you're so inspiring to me, Hylan. And like I think I want to read 400 books. But thank you. Like you're just such a ball of knowledge, right? Like you know so much, and every time I talk to you, I learn something new all the time, and it's like so mind-blowing. So you're an amazing woman. Like you do know that, right?
Thank you.
You're amazing, and like sharing your journey and like just being this independent woman. It's amazing. So you're very inspiring to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Hope to have you again. Yeah.